What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to create REST API using Node.js and MongoDB. So for doing that, you need to have Node.js installed in your computer so you can download it from here based on your operating system. You need to download MongoDB as well. So we are downloading MongoDB community version. And we will be testing the APIs with Postman. So you need to download that Postman application in your computer. As I have everything installed, so I will just get started. So let's get to coding. Now, as we are in VS Code, we are going to open up a terminal and we will initialize an npm application with npm init -y, and -y is default yes for all. So as you can see that we don't have to answer a bunch of questions, and we already have our package.json. Now what we are going to do is we are going to install some packages. So npm I, express, mongoose, and body parser. So as you can see that these are being installed. After that, we will be installing the dev dependencies. So now, as you can see that these are installed, let's install the dev dependencies. npm I --save -dev, and we are going to install .env and nodemon. As you can see, we are installing nodemon for the development purpose, so that while we are developing, we are making changes in the application. We don't need to restart the server every time we make any sort of changes, so the nodemon comes in handy at that point. So as you can see that we have everything installed, let's go to the package.json and let's see. As you can see that these are the dependencies that we have installed. These are body parser, express, and mongoose, and the dev dependencies are .env and nodemon. So we do need to make some changes in this package.json for our ease. The first thing is that we are going to use imports. So for doing that is the ES6 syntax. For doing that, we need to type here, and it will be module. All right. And for the development purpose, we are going to make another script here. That is, let's make it dev, and we will be writing nodemon index.js. All right. Basically, index.js is the file, the main server file that we're going to create. So let's save it and let's get started with that. Okay, so now as we have everything installed, at first let's create a .env file, and we will come back to it every time we are going to create an environment variable. So let's create it like this and keep it like this. Now let's create the index.js file and start working on that. As you can see, now we can use imports. So let's import express first. Import express from express. Import .env/config, import body parser from body parser, and import mongoose from mongoose. All right, so we have our imports done. Let's move on. So as we are using MongoDB, we need a database URL. So let's go to the .env, because we are going to import this from the environment variable. It's up to you how you want. So let's just create one database _URL, and let's write it like MongoDB : // let's make it a local host / the name of the database that we want. So I want the name of the database to be snack, as I am planning to create a snack shop. And with that, we need to specify the port from which we want to serve. So let's make port equals, let's start at 5000, and let's save it. Okay, now let's go back to index.js and let's move on. Now let's connect MongoDB. So mongoose .connect process.env.database _URL. And we have use new URL parser. It's set to true. Okay. Const db equals mongoose.connection. So if there is any sort of error, what we're going to do is db.on error. We will have console.error the error. Otherwise, db.once open Let's have an arrow function. Console log database connected. Okay, so now let's have the Express app. So constant app equals Express, and we have specified the port. So const port equals process.env.port, or we will have 5000 by default. Okay, so let's have an app.use body parser.json, and we want the app to listen to app.listen. Let's give it port, and we will have another arrow function where we will just console log, and let's write server started at port. All right, let's save it. Okay, we don't need this, so let's just remove this and save. All right, now at first we need models for the database, so we will create a folder called models. So let's do that first, and inside models, as we said that we are going to make a snack shop or something like that, so let's name it snack.js. So now let's create the model. So let's first import mongoose from mongoose. We don't need this, and this will be small actually. Okay, now let's create the schema. Const snacks schema equals new mongoose.schema. Now, in case of snack, we may want the name, we want the price, we may want the quantity. So what we're going to do is we're going to type name. We'll come back to this. We want the price. We'll come back to this as well. And finally, we want the quantity. We'll come back to this as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is in name, the type will be string, and this will be required, so we will write required will be true. Okay, the same thing goes for the price, but the type will be number. Let's just consider integer values, so type will be number, and it will also be required. So in case of required, we will type it's true, and in case of the quantity, this is definitely a number, so we will have the type as number, and required will be definitely true. Okay, so now as we have our schema, we need to export it. So what we are going to write is export default mongoose.model. We will be having snack, and we will send snack schema. Okay, let's just save it. Now we're going to create the routes. So for that, we need to create a folder which is called routes. And inside routes, we will have another file which is called snack.js. I think I misspelled. Just rename it to snack.js. All right. Now before writing anything here, let's go back to the index.js first. And we need to import that routes file here. So let's import snack router from routes, and we need to have snack.js. Make sure you write snack.js, because in Node.js, if you don't write .js, the app won't work. So now as we have snack router, what we can do is we can write app.use, let's say /snacks. We are going to pass snack router, and let's save it. Okay, now let's create the routes. Okay, so first of all, we need to import Express, and we need to import the model. So we will write import snack from modules slash snack.js. Okay, let's have const router equals express. All right, so now the methods that we are going to have are, let's just write like this: get, then we will have get1, we will have post, we are going to have patch. I'm going to talk about this once we make this, and we are going to have delete. And before we forget, we will export default router. Okay, so now let's create the methods. At first, let's create the get method. So in this case, let's make router.get. It will be accessed with just slash. After we access localhost 5000 /snacks, then we don't need to put anything else, because once we put that, then this is the index for this file. So after snacks, if we don't put anything and if it's a get request, then we're going to get all of the snacks that we have in our database. So let's just make that async. We will have a request and a response, and then we will have an arrow function as well. We will have a try and catch block. So let's just write those first. Try and catch. So inside the try block, let's fetch the results from the database. So we will have const snacks equals to await snack dot find. So once we find, we will type res.json and we will be passing the snacks. Otherwise, if we have any sort of error, then we will have an error in catch, and we will be having a res.status will be 500, and we will be passing message. This will be from this error message. All right. So by this, we will be having all the text that we have in our database, and if we don't have anything, then we will have an error message. Or if we face any other sort of errors, then we will be getting an error message. So by this, we will be having the all the snacks. Now let's make one for the get one. So in this case, as we are going along, we need an ID to be passed so that we can access one. So for that, we need to create, we will be using /id in this case. After the slash in the request, we will be passing an ID as well. So for that reason, we need to make something that is in case of get1, we will be passing an ID. In case of patch, that is updating something, we will be passing an ID as well. And in case of delete, we need to delete by the ID as well. So for that reason, we will be creating a middleware. That means we're going to create some functionalities that will be used in all three cases. So we don't want to write redundant amount of code in every step. We will write just one, and we will just be calling the middleware. Let's just do that. So here we are going to create the middleware at first. Async function. Let's name it get snack. Let's have it a request response and next as well. Let snack. Let's have a try and catch as well. So try, and we will have a catch here as well. So inside the try block, let's try to find the snack by ID. So snack will be equals to, as this is an async function, we will have await first. Await snack dot find by ID, and inside this we will be sending the request.parents.id. So by request.parents.id, that means the ID that we are going to pass in the as the request in the URL, that ID is being accessed with request.parents.id. So with that, we are going to try to fetch the snack, and we're going to store it in snack. Then the thing is, if we do not get the snack, that is, if the snack equals null, then what we're going to do is we're going to return res.status will be 404, and the JSON will be a message where we will be typing cannot find snap. Okay. In case there is an error from the catch blocks, so we will return there, return rest dot status will be 500, and in case of the JSON, we will be passing a message as well. Here we will pass message. Is it error dot message? All right. If none of these are the case, then what we're going to do is the snack that we have received from the ID, from the database, we're going to pass res.snack will be the snack. Okay, and after that, next. All right. So this is the middleware, or this is the function that we're going to use in all the three places, that is in get1, in the patch, in the delete. So let's create the get1 function. Router.get. We will have, this is the ID that we are going to pass through the parameter, and here we will be calling the getSnap function, or the middleware, and we will have a simple request and response here. We're going to send res.json, res.snap. All right, this is what we're going to do in the getById function. Now let's create the post function, or the post route. Router.post. This will be just slash, nothing to be passed after snacks. And let's have an async function. We will have a request response and the arrow function. So first of all, we will have const snack. This will be a new snack. We will have name will be rec.body.name. I'm going to show this because in Postman we will be creating the body ourselves, and then we are going to send that. So that's why we are writing rec.body.name. It's not from the parameter, that is from the URL that we're going to send as a request, but this is the body. I'm going to show you that. So we have the name, we need the price, that will be rec.body.price, and we also have the quantity. So in that case, we will write quantity will be rec.body.quantity. All right. As we have these in snack, we will have another try and catch block. So let's do it. Try and catch. Catch will be error. So we need to try to save this snack in the database. So for that, let's go for constant new snack equals snack.save, and now res.status, this will be 201, and in case of JSON we are going to send the new snack. Okay, and in case if there is any sort of error in the catch block, so we will be just sending res.status will be 400, and JSON will be message. We will have error message. Okay, so there goes the post request with the post route. Now let's create patch. So now, as I said before, that I'm going to talk about this. If you have a put request, put and patch both are for updates, but if you put a put request, that means that all the values of each item will be changed, or the item you want to change, all the values or all the parameters in that item will be changed. For example, as we have name, we have the price, and we have quantity for an item. So if you have a put request, then you need to provide all of these values, and you need to update. Even if you don't want to update the other values, you need to at least place those in the request body. But we don't want that. Maybe sometimes something like we want to update only one value of an item or one parameter of an item. Suppose we want to update the quantity, or we want to update the price. So or maybe we want to update the name. So in that case, patch comes, because with patch you can update just what you want. It's not like you need to update the whole thing. You can update just exactly that portion of thing that you want. So let's move on to it. Router.patch, and we will be passing an ID as well. So we will be calling the get snack, and we will have a request response. Okay, we need to have it as async as well. All right, let's have if the request.body.name is not equals to null, then we will be changing this rest.snack.name equals break.body.name. Similarly, we will be doing this for price and quantity. So we are going to copy this, paste it twice. So in place of name, let's write price, and let's copy price. Let's change it here as well, and here as well. And in place of name here, we will be having quantity. So let's copy that as well, quantity here as well, and break.body.quantity. All right. So we have the updates here. So once we have those, let's have another try and catch block. So try and catch with an error. So inside the try block, what we will have is const updated snack, and here what we will have is await rest.snack.save. We will have rest.json will be the updated snack, and if there is any sort of error in the catch block, then we will do rest.status will be 400, and in JSON we will, as usual, pass a message that is from the error. So error.message. All right. So that's what we have in the patch. Now let's finally create the delete route. So in case of the delete route, let's write router.delete. We will be passing parameter as well. I mean the ID in the parameter of the URL. And for that, we need the middleware get snack. This is an async function as well, async await. So we will have async request and response and an arrow function. We will directly go with the try and catch block. So try and catch error. In case of the try block, the first thing that we need to do is we need to try and remove that await rest.snack.remove, and once we are done with that, rest.json will be a message that says snack has been removed. Okay, but if there is any sort of error we may face, then in that case we will have a rest.status of 500, and in JSON we will pass a message that will be from the error. It is the error message. All right, so now we can save this. All right, before starting the application, let's just explain one more time. Like if we go to the index.js, and you can see that we are using snack router, that is the routes that we have created, and if we want to use those, we need to access /snacks after the URL, that is a localhost 5000. After that we need to access /snacks, and once we access this, we can access all of these routes here in the routes folder, that is with the ID or without ID. That is for the get all and the post method, we don't need to access with the ID, but for the get by ID, the patch, that is the update, or the remove, that is the delete, we need to access by ID. So after snacks, whatever ID or whatever routes we need to move forward, we need to have /snacks at first. Okay, so now let's start the application with npm run dev. As you already know that we have already created the script of dev, that is node mode start. So you can see that server started at port 5000 and the database has been connected. So now let's move on to Postman. So now as you can see that we are in Postman, let's open up and let's have a post request to http 5000 / we need snacks, and you can see that here is body, and we want a raw format, that is a JSON. So what we're going to do is we're going to create parameters with a name. We will go for sending like restful. This is the name of chips, or maybe restful biscuits. Then we will be sending the price, that is suppose €1, and there may be some, if we go for the quantity, maybe there were like 20, and then if we send it. All right, so now let's check that what if we have this in the database. So if we go for a get request with the snacks, let's send it, and now you can see that we have two items, that is restful chips and we have restful biscuits. So now if we want to search with an ID, so let's just copy this ID for restful chips, and after snacks, let's go for slash and let's place the ID that is searching by ID. This is a get method, and if we send, you can see that we already get this. Now if we want a patch, that is if we want to update something, we need to have a body as well here. So in place of body, let's just update restful chips, and let's just update the price only. So let's remove the other things that we had before. We don't need this. Let's update the price to 3, and if we send it, now you can see in the response that the price has been updated to 3. And suppose if we want to delete the restful chips, so we already have this copied here, and let's go to delete. If we set, now you can see the snack has been removed. So with that, now let's just remove this ID, or suppose let's try it with an ID that we have, or we don't have actually, with a false ID. Let's try to get this. If we send, you can see that we are getting an error message because this does not exist. Okay, so now if we just remove this, and if we try to get all the snacks that we have, if we send it, you can see that we only have restful biscuits and the restful chips are not available. So basically, that's what we wanted to create. This is the REST API that we wanted to make with Node.js and MongoDB. We have our database, we have the snacks that we want. It's sort of a small web shop server side. We didn't create a UI for that. So basically that's an idea that I wanted to provide to you. And if you found it valuable, please leave a thumbs up and comment what you thought. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified immediately. So with that said, I will be going now, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.